Hi. Have you ever wondered why children or students are expected to rise when the teacher enters the classroom? The most common answer that I've received from others when I've asked this question is that it is to show respect. Okay, but then my question is, if that is to show respect, why don't we stand up when our mother, father, or grandparent or somebody elder enters the room? Now, does it mean that only teachers deserve to be shown respect? Think about this. The fact is, the true purpose of rising when a teacher enters the classroom is to show obedience. Now, I'm Bimal Raj from Insightful Parents, and we have had a very interesting discussion about organized schooling and other forms of learning like unschooling, homeschooling, etc., in our private Facebook group, the Insightful Parents. uh, I learned something very interesting about formal education system and how and where it was formed. And I learned it from my mentor, Blair Singer. I mean, like most of you there, I was blissfully unaware about all this. And once he put that into me, I started finding out more about it. And this is about what I found out. All right. Now, let me put a disclaimer here. Okay. I'm not trying to run regular schools down. My child goes to a regular school because she wants to be there. In fact, I had a conversation with her asking her whether she would like to explore a different form of schooling or education, but she was very clear that she wanted to continue in her school. I mean, I was formally educated as well, and I know that there are a lot of merits in formal schooling beyond grades and marks, like social skills, leadership skills, handling failures, working in teams, resolving conflicts, and so much more. I've always wondered about the other forms of education and schooling, but it is right now when we are in a lockdown and when everybody went online that I really started exploring this much more. What I want you to know is that I'm also exploring, just like many of you out there, because this is something new. We don't know about it. And I'm trying to understand the different ways we can educate our children. So even though unschooling is not something new, we are hearing a lot about it these days. Yes. So we decided to speak to parents, educators, and other people who have been there, done that, who have gone through the journey. And then we thought, why should we keep all the information to our small group of insightful parents? And that's when we decided to start and launch our YouTube channel with this topic: to school or not to school. Okay, so this is how we are starting our new YouTube channel as well. Okay, now coming back to the formal education system, as per educators and experts, this model of schooling or education is based on a Prussian education system which originated in the 18th century, where basically they were using this method to even question each literacy and indoctrinate them into believing the infallibility of the supreme king or authority, which was the Prussian king Frederick William I at that point in time. The end result was a useful and generic worker, but who was readily replaceable and dispensable. Okay. Now, in this term, I mean, they extended it to the education systems as well. And this in this system, the students, whatever the students wanted or thought was completely irrelevant. Teachers in the Prussian education system acted as surrogate parents that had no mercy for the child and punished all mistakes ruthlessly for the purpose of destroying trust and instilling fear. The curriculum consisted of rote learning, reading, writing, memorizing assignments, and that were meant to destroy creativity and spontaneity. Okay. Uh, in fact, the grades themselves were not a measure of the child's knowledge, but rather the level of the child's obedience, the conformity to a set curriculum or a set pattern of doing things. If somebody didn't score well, that didn't mean that he was not knowledgeable. It just meant that he was rebellious and refused to follow that path. The school bell, which was used to mark the start and end of sessions, and that's also sort of conditioning mechanism. Okay. Now, the same system was eventually transplanted into the US in 1843 and became the basis of the education system that we are following today. And there were just minor changes. Instead of the king, the students were asked to obey the state, but everything else was left the same. Now, the tragedy of the Prussian education system is that it continues to churn out uniform, creatively stunted workers that were ideal for the 18th century Prussian labor market, which no longer exists. In fact, uh, even for the US, they wanted people for working in the factory. So if you look at the schooling system and the factory, there are a lot of similarities. That the uniform that they wear, the breaks that they have for meals, the bells for start and end of each session or shift, on all of this is very, very similar. Okay. Now, today, what a nation needs is a steady supply of creative people who are willing to go out there and try new things, fail at things, but are creative and curious to still explore the possibility of thriving and, in fact, go ahead and thrive. Okay. Now, I want to show you something. There's actually a book. Again, I saw it first in the hands of my mentor, Blair Singer. I've got some printouts from that book. The book is called The Creature from Jekyll Island by G. Edward Griffin. And it is called the second look at the Federal Reserve. And you know that the Federal Reserve is the main thing in the US. Okay. So they've covered everything about the US, different things. And I'm just going to read out two paragraphs, which is focused on the education system. Okay. I'm reading it as it is. So heading is education as a tool for human engineering. Okay. Now, the third printout is dated 1904 and is a report issued by the General Education Board, one of the first foundations established by John D. Rockefeller Sr. Now, John D. Rockefeller was not an educator. He was an industrialist. He had factories and he needed workers for his factories. Okay. Now, continuing, the purpose of the foundation was to use the power of money not to raise the level of education in America, as was widely believed at that time, but to influence the direction of that education. Specifically, it was to promote the ideology of collectivism and internationalism. Okay. Now, carefully. The object was to use the classroom to teach attitudes that encourage people to be passive and submissive to their rulers. The goal was and is to create citizens who are educated enough for productive work under supervision, but not enough to question the authority or to seek to rise above their class. True education was restricted to the sons and daughters of the elite. For the rest, it would be better to produce skilled workers with no particular aspirations other than to enjoy life. It was enough that the people should rejoice, provided they think of nothing else but rejoicing. That's the first paragraph. And the second one is also equally interesting. Okay, I'll just read part of it. Okay. Okay. It says, okay, we shall not try to make these people or any of their children. This is in the first publication of the Central Education Board. Fred Gates explains this. Okay, we shall not try to make these people or any of their children into philosophers of mental learning or of science. We have not said to raise from among them authors, editors, poets, or men of letters. We shall not search for embryo-grade scientists, painters, musicians, nor lawyers, doctors, preachers, politicians, statesmen, of whom we have ample supply. The task we set before ourselves is very simple as well as a very beautiful one. To train these people as we find them to a perfectly ideal life, just where they are, in their homes, in the shops, and on the farm. Unfortunately, I think we can draw a lot of parallel from this to what we are going through right now. And I want to talk about one more thing. Again, I learned from Blair. This is this book. It's called Dumbing Us Down. It's written by somebody called John Taylor Gatto, and the hidden curriculum of compulsory schooling. Okay. Now, interestingly, this John Taylor Gatto, he was an educator for 30 years. And finally, he got the award for the New York City Teacher of the Year award. And when he received the award, he resigned and he became an advocate to speak against the organized schooling. Okay, I don't know why he waited for 30 years. But what I want you to do, this you can get it in Amazon if you want, you can pick it up and read. Okay, it's a very interesting read. I'll just read some of the stuff from this book, okay, so that you get a fair idea what I'm talking. This it's called the 7-lesson school teacher. Okay, now he says the first lesson that I teach is confusion to the kids. I teach disconnections. I teach too much. The orbiting of planets, the law of large numbers, slavery, adjectives, architectural drawing, dance, gymnasium, choral singing, assemblies, surprise guests, fire drills, computer languages, parents' nights, staff development days, pull-out programs, guidance with strangers my students may never see again, standardized test. Uh, what do any of these things have to do with each other? Okay, I'm not going into the explanation that you can pick up the book and read. I'm just saying what he states. The second one is class position. The children are numbered so that if any of them get away, they can be returned to the right class. He says, I don't even know why parents would, without a fight, allow it to be done to their kids. Okay. Third is indifference. I teach children not to care too much about anything, even enough they want to make it, even though they want to make it appear that they do. Next one is emotional dependency. Okay. Uh, I teach emotional dependency by stars and red checks, smiles and frowns, prizes, honors and disgrace. I teach kids to surrender their will to the predestined chain of command. Next, intellectual dependency. Good students wait for a teacher to tell them what to do. This is the most important lesson of them all. We must wait for other people better trained than ourselves to make the meanings of our lives. Okay, and there are more stuff. There are more things in there. So what I want to tell you is that this is written by somebody who's been in the education system for 30 years and he won a prize. Okay, so it is good for us to reconsider and have a relook, because all that I've read is all that is happening regularly in our schools. Okay, now the more I read, the more I feel like asking, do we really need school? I mean, I don't mean the education and gaining of education, but just forced schooling, 7 to 8 classes a day, 5 days a week, 10 months a year for 12 years. Is this crazy routine necessary? And if so, for what? How much of us use algebra, integration, derivation today in our lives? I don't know. I definitely do not use. Okay. See, a large number of well-known people, I know whether it is Mark Twain, Charlie Chaplin, Sir Richard Branson, Dhirubhai Ambani, Ritesh Agarwal, who is the founder of Oyo Rooms, Kailash Katkar, founder of Quick Heal Technology, Azhar Iqbal, co-founder of InShots. They all are people who are ranging from having no formal education to being a college dropout. I'm not even talking like Bill Gates um, uh, and at the Bill Gates level. Okay, you must have heard of this person called Supriya Joshi. She's called the poster mom for India's nascent homeschooling movement. She pulled her girls out of formal schooling and homeschooled them. Her daughter, Malvika, was admitted to the prestigious MIT based in Boston. So what I'm trying to say is that we see shining examples of kids blossoming with the formal education and also without. Okay. And that is where the confusion lies, to school or not to school. So what we are going to do is we are going to talk to parents, experts over the next few days who have very clear opinion about how and why a certain method of education is suitable for them. And most probably we are planning to wind it through a panel discussion. I hope that that I would be a little more sure by the end of these discussions, and I hope that I can help you become a little more sure by the end of these discussions. So please like our channel, subscribe to our channel and follow our channel, and please give your views, because it is very important. We want to take up your questions and take it up to the panelists and ask them these questions so that we get a collective understanding. We have clarity about different kinds of education. So thank you so much. Do like our channel and subscribe to it.